Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dati Svavadantikam. First of all, I'd like to express my most heartfelt gratitude for all of you, those who are present here and those who are unable to be present, but are here in spirit, to honor and memorialize Yamuna Devi's legacy. And this is the first time that I've spoken publicly since her passing for many reasons. It's still difficult. I'm a little bit shy to speak in public at any rate, but there were several reasons, but primary was that I couldn't figure out how to encapsulate or condense the 37 years of being her companion into a cohesive, short explication of who Yamuna Devi was. Unfortunately, I've been spared from having to do that because His Holiness Radhanath Swami has just done that so beautifully that I don't have to revisit those same areas. This project, Unalloyed, was originally intended as an acronym for the book project that we've been working on. This book project came about because Yamuna Devi, in her natural humility, had been reluctant to write her memoir for many, many years, despite being asked by innumerable devotees. She felt that she really wasn't, she felt in her humility that why do we need another book from me? That was what she would say so often to so many people. And everyone would say, but your vision is unique, not only because you're a woman, but because of your intimate relationship with Srila Prabhupada, and because of so many other reasons. Her contribution to the society, to the mission of Srila Prabhupada. But it went from being an acronym to a beautiful definition of who Yamuna Devi was in relation to this Krishna consciousness movement and in relation to Srila Prabhupada specifically. That her devotion, that her dedication, that her commitment, that her very being, her very essence was unalloyed devotion to Srila Prabhupada and to Krishna Bhakti. So I would like to begin at the end, how this came about, by speaking a little bit about her passing. Some of it is intimate, but I think it will give you a very amazing understanding of who Yamuna was in totality, because her legacy is not just the years that she spent as an intimate associate of Srila Prabhupada, but her legacy is the totality of her life, because it remained the same from the moment she made the commitment to Srila Prabhupada to give her life to Krishna consciousness, to the very end of her life and her passing. She was the same person, and she had the same dedication, and that was what was so remarkable about Yamuna Devi to so many people. She was guileless in that she was the same on the inside as she was on the outside. And she was able to touch people, as Maharaj was saying, in a way that was so real and so tangible and so lasting that even someone who met her once, or even someone who never met her but read her cookbook, could be irrevocably changed in terms of the direction of their spiritual life, the trajectory of their spiritual life. This happened again and again, and I saw it myself so many times. So in the last years of her life, Yamuna Devi was becoming weaker and weaker physically, while remaining stronger and stronger spiritually. And her mood was always, when it's time for me to leave, Krishna will take me. And that's fine with me. She was affected either staying or going. Really, it wasn't something she devoted much time to thinking about. But then her health became so critical that she spent those months at Bhaktivedanta Hospital, which was a very profound experience. I was there for 6 weeks of those 3 months that she was there. And I also felt her profound effect on everyone there. So after she left the hospital, at that time, the wonderful doctors, nurses, staff, everyone in Bhaktivedanta Hospital, which Yamuna had a deep and profound relationship with and affection for, had just gone to the most amazing depths of love in trying to help her in whatever way that they could. When she came back to the United States was when she, in Florida, when she had more extensive tests done on her heart, they found that unbeknownst to her, or she had not mentioned it to me or anyone else, that up to 10 years beforehand, she had had a serious heart attack, and it was it was unknown to, so the muscle was already damaged. So since we moved to Florida, she started having more extensive tests, and she had what we called episodes, and what they later determined was small heart attacks or strokes. So once I had to go to see my mother on the other side of Florida and take her to a doctor's visit. And while I was gone, Yamuna Devi had one of these episodes. So when I came back, she said that she thought she was going to pass at that time. And she went into the temple room, and there was a sort of a day bed in the temple room in front of Radhabana Vihari. And she laid down in the day bed, and she was unconscious. And when she woke up from being unconscious, she had in her arms Srila Prabhupada, Murti of Srila Prabhupada. Now this Murti is clay. He is a Murti that was the original one made in Los Angeles when devotee gave to us, and he is modeled in clay. And when Yamuna woke up, she was embracing this deity of Srila Prabhupada. So the next episode happened, and I was there. And one morning she came to me and she said, having either a reaction to this medicine or having another one of these episodes, what she called episodes. So we went again into the temple room, and she laid down in this daybed again. And then in a semi-conscious state, I was just sitting there holding her hand, and all of a sudden, with this very clear, lucid, beautiful voice, she started chanting, Gauranga Bolite Habe Pulaka Sharira Hari Hari Bolite Nayane Habe. And she sang the entire prayer. Now this was not a prayer that we had been singing with any regularity. In fact, since 2005, we had been concentrating on the songbooks about Devi Thakur, and this is a prayer of Narottam Das Thakur. And in this prayer, he is humbly and very deeply asking for Bhava. He's actually saying, when will a shivering of my body come? And he's saying, when will I achieve the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda? And then he's saying, when will I be able to understand the books of the 6 Goswamis? And so I was stunned because, as I said, she had not sung this song in a long time. None of us had. And then when I was writing on the book, she mentioned that in 1968, in the Rath Yatra festival, as they were riding on the Rath cart, this prayer was playing by Srila Prabhupada in the background the whole way to the ocean. And she made the comment that the winds of the ocean would, each wind would carry one way and carry another way, and the wind would carry that prayer one way, and then it would carry that prayer another way. So I thought that this was another indication that Yamuna Devi was so absorbed that, again, thinking she was passing at this time, somehow this prayer came to her and she sang it at this moment. And so the third time this happened was the time that she actually passed. And we had been having, as Maharaj said, a kirtan with our wonderful young friends, Kartamasha and Radha. And after the kirtan, Yamuna said, I'm feeling again, another episode is coming on, maybe passing again. She did not like the hospital. She did not want to go to doctors. She was so much at peace and so committed. And at that time, I asked, do you want to go to the hospital? And she said, so many times as she'd said before, I want only one thing. And she said, I want to go where Srila Prabhupada is. She said, that is it. She said, if he is in the spiritual world, then I want to go to the spiritual world. But if he is preaching somewhere in this material world, I want to go there, wherever he is. And it is my great prayer that if I have the adhikara, if I've done enough in this life to go where Srila Prabhupada is, that is my humble prayer. And she said that many, many times. She said it again this night. And I last checked on her about 1 o'clock in the morning. And then at that time she was sitting up and she asked me to take rest. And she knew she was passing because she positioned herself on her bed horizontally so she would be found that way. And she had her beads in her hand, and when I found her the next morning, she actually had a smile on her face. She had passed in that way. It was like, how can I describe, a Mona Lisa smile. It was very, very beautiful. And it was amazing because how Krishna arranged it there are so few episodes in our life where we can actually see the hand of Krishna acting in such a profound way. One way was that had she not gone to the heart doctor in the area that we lived in, when she passed away, she would have had to have an autopsy. And she would have had to have waited 2 weeks to have that, where they cut you open. And because she had been seen by the heart doctor, they said, yes, she does not have to have this done. And because the medical examiner wanted to leave, the 2 weeks that they expected it would take for him to fill out the papers took 1 day. And so within 2 days, we were able to have a wonderful ceremony. And then the third thing was that the place that, the funeral home that we went to, no one was there. No one else was there. And the people were so kind that they allowed us to have our ceremonies in our tradition with kirtan, loud kirtan, and decoration of her body and all of the sacraments that are performed. And none of these things would have happened if they had not been arranged by the merciful, the all-merciful hand of Krishna. So the reason that I wanted to start at the end in that way was to show that from the very beginning of her devotional life, from the commitment she had, when she made that commitment to Krishna consciousness, she stayed that way her entire life. And her concern was that we pass that on to the next generations. And she used to say that we have to show among ourselves that we are actually developing the qualities of a devotee. Because if the next generations do not see within us that what has been promised by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, by Lord Chaitanya and Kaviraj Goswami in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and by our other great Vaishnavas like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, and Srila Prabhupada, that these qualities must develop within us by dint of sincere practice of devotional service. And if new generations coming up see that we are not developing these qualities, where will the faith come to practice and make that commitment? So Srila Prabhupada, Yamuna found this 2 weeks before she passed away. I hope I have the paper here. Lost the paper that I brought. Oh, she's found it. Thank you very much. So in 1966, we did not have the Chaitanya Charitamrita, but Srila Prabhupada was preaching in New York from the Madhya Lila, the instructions to Sanatana Goswami. And Yamuna found this to be very profound. Literally 2 weeks before she passed away, she found this. It was something we had spoken about so many times. And Srila Prabhupada spoke about this in 1966. And what he said is, how can you become a saintly person? He said, so there are these 26 qualities, and they are called saintly person. A devotee means to become fully qualified with all the noble qualities. A devotee does not mean a rascal. At the same time, you are a rascal and a devotee, no. As soon as you become a devotee, the test is that those 26 qualities will develop. You have to test yourself. Out of the 26 qualities, how much have I developed? If I am lacking, then you must know that you are not developing, and this is the test. So, I had noticed that among these qualities, when I began this book project, and briefly I will just explain that I never thought that I would ever be writing Yamuna's autobiography, but about a month before she passed away, she said that she did not think she would be able to finish writing, and would I in fact take up this project. And I didn't think that I would have to do it, so I said yes. And when she did pass away, she had been writing, and every time I would ask her, "Can I please read what you've read so far?" She would say something like, "Well, it's just a exercise," or "It's not ready to be seen by anyone yet." So she would not let me read anything that she had written. So it wasn't until after she passed away and I read what she wrote that I understood why she didn't want me to read what she had written. Because in her typical way, she had virtually written herself out of all of the important events of her life that she was a central character in. An example is the Govindam prayers. You may be interested to know that she was not present then, that she was simply a chorus, one of the persons singing in the chorus of the Govindam prayers. So this is just one example, and there were many more, and she knew that had I read what she had written, I would have very vocally complained. So in one way, it's good that those of us now who are working on this project are working on it because we actually can present the history as carefully as we are trying to do as it happened, and not as Yamuna in her humility would have liked to have presented it. But it simply showed that when I began researching, and I went way back to her earliest years, those things that to most of us would have seemed extremely important in our life, she never mentioned. Things like being a cheerleader in high school. She was chosen by the San Francisco Ballet to participate in their summer school program twice in a row, with the hope that she would eventually join the San Francisco Ballet. This was a great and rare honor, again, barely mentioned by her. She was her homecoming queen. All of these things that are considered important to most people, she did not mention. And as Maharaj said, that she could be as grave as the most grave, and she could be as funny as the most funny. In fact, when the students voted in their senior year, what they felt each student should be honored for, Yamuna was chosen most witty of her high school. So she had that very, very much a part of her nature. But one of the things that I found was that these 26 qualities of a devotee, many of those qualities she already exhibited even before she became a devotee. Some of them merciful, humble, equal to all, magnanimous, peaceful, surrendered, friendly, indifferent to material acquisitions, fixed in devotional service, respectful, grave, without false prestige. This is another extremely important. Maharaj mentioned about George Harrison. In fact, she was formally approached by Apple Records to become a solo artist in addition to George Harrison. During that year, I have about 3 or 4 of her letters that she wrote to Srila Prabhupada, and all of the letters that he wrote to her, she never once mentions George Harrison in any of those letters. She never once mentions any of the singing, any of that type of thing. Her full concentration was on serving the devotees, the deity worship, how she should organize the temple worship and the deity worship, how she could best serve Srila Prabhupada. All of these were very, very much covered. You can tell by Srila Prabhupada's answers that those were her questions at that time. So these qualities were there, and then more qualities developed as she went on in life. And therefore, she felt that it was so important that we try to go deeply into our devotional service and develop these qualities so the younger generations would see that the promises that have been given by our acharyas are in fact real, and that this Krishna consciousness is full of joy and is full of the highest ideals and perfections that we would want to seek anywhere. And this is something very dear to Yamuna's heart, and we're hoping in this book project that through her words and through the words of those who knew her, that this will come out more and more. Her deep love for Srila Prabhupada's mission, for showing that this is the highest thing, this is the greatest thing, and that you are never the loser when you take to Krishna consciousness, but actually you've gained the greatest wealth. And she exemplified that. She showed that by her example, by her words, by her deeds, and by her very life. So I thank you very much for coming and honoring her again. And I feel very grateful to be here, and very grateful for all of your association. And again, thank you for stepping forward and offering tribute to this great Vaishnava in such a wonderful and meaningful and moving way. With all my heart, I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dinatarine, for your insights.